Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
And I'm Jacob.
Today we'll be talking about some of Jake's favourite movies from topics we've previously discussed on the show, from James Bond movies to superhero movies. Later on, Jake and I will have a bit of a rushed discussion about our favourite tropes from film and television, a discussion which was unfortunately cut short due to running out of time in the studio. We are very professional here. Also, I'll be reviewing the new documentary series that's currently playing on Foxtel, McMillions. But first, this. Bit of news to start the show today. The sequel to 2018's Halloween, which is in turn a sequel to the 1978 John Carpenter classic Halloween, has been delayed until next year. Halloween Kills was meant to come out this October, with a final sequel, Halloween Ends, coming out next year, and that's presumably been pushed back a year as well. Now on the topic of horror movies, Jake, do you like scary movies?
Picking a favourite is difficult. I've watched a lot of horror movies, and getting off the top of my head is tricky. If we're going to talk about old ones, I don't remember that well, but remember loving, there was 13 Ghosts, which was, I can barely remember it, but I remember really enjoying it. In more recent memories, there's this movie on Netflix based on a novel called The Ritual. Now, most of this movie I found fantastic. It had a great atmosphere, great vibe. The actors all went full on. The monster you can only just see occasionally was just hauntingly horrifying. The supernatural elements were brilliant. Now, I realised it was based on a novel, so this is how it ends in the novel. But the ending killed it for me. I won't spoil it, people want to watch it, but it's one of those movies where it was fantastic. One of the best things I've seen until the big twist at the end, which just kind of ruined the momentum for me, I suppose you could say.
Who's in this movie?
No one particularly well known, to be honest. I couldn't name anything off the top of my head. I believe it's based on one of the Scandinavian countries.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes, it was. But it was the 90% of the movie was fantastic, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Rafe Spall, Rob James Collier from Downton Abbey.
Oh, there you go. So there's one.
So cool. Check that out if that sounds good.
Yes. You might love the twist at the end, and to be fair, it is based on novels. That is what's meant to happen. But just for me, it killed the momentum of the film.
So it is sort of a supernatural horror as opposed to, your slasher horror.
Yes,
psychological.
Absolutely. It's all based in a forest.
Oh, right.
All these four friends reunite after their fifth friend was murdered the year before. So they all just kind of reunite and go for a hiking trip in the woods, which, as hiking trips in the woods always go, goes awry violently.
Oh, dear.
But it does have some brilliant supernatural elements, some fantastic acting. The atmosphere is flawless. Right up for me until the last little bit of the film. But you might think it's a brilliant twist, so I won't spoil it.
And that's on Netflix. Check it out if that sounds interesting to you. So, like I said, a lot of films were meant to come out this year. The 25th Bond film, I think it was the 25th.
I believe so, yes.
Lots of Time to Die, I think it's called, or something like that.
Something like that. They're all called something like that.
Yeah. So, favourite Bond movies was a topic we discussed a few weeks ago with Josh. But now Jake is here, so what does Jake think?
Now, I do love my Bond films. I also recognise that they were not exactly forward-thinking and progressive, I suppose you'd say. But
putting it lightly,
for me, I love Bond films that are corny, that are over the top, that have ridiculous characters. I love GoldenEye, mostly for Ivan.
Yes,
because
Alan Cummings' character.
Alan Cummings, brilliant actor. He was also my favourite part of X-Men 2.
Oh, yeah, he's phenomenal in that.
Fantastic, love the guy. And his character in GoldenEye is hilarious. It's just so over the top and unrealistic. I love it.
Ha! I am invincible!
And it's just, yeah. So for me, favourite Bond film will be any Bond film where he has ridiculous gadgets, over the top villains, and just nonsense.
Imagine if they did that now with Daniel Craig, if they just said, screw the realism, screw the grounding, just laser scissors.
I would love to see Daniel Craig have fun for once at the Bond film. Because my God, the man is miserable in all those movies.
Oh, he is, yeah.
Because I like Daniel Craig quite a bit. I think he's a fantastic actor, but he just looks like he's suffering every time he does a Bond movie.
He does. And this one, it's the first Pierce Brosnan film.
I love Pierce Brosnan too.
And opening is great. You got 006, Sean Bean.
Yes, one of my absolute favourite actor, actually.
Busted. Try and do the rest of the review doing my Sean Bean voice. No.
Oh, God.
No. Every war's the same until it's... every war's different until it's the same. World on Fire on Foxtel, BBC First. Check that one
Sean
out.
Bean and Gerard Butler.
Yeah. Or Gerard Butler films. No. GoldenEye. So it's the introduction to the Pierce Brosnan Bond.
Yes.
As well as Judi Dench.
Yes.
Judi Dench is M.
And I think Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench, might I add,
Yes.
is probably the best version of M.
Yes.
She's a brilliant actress, love her. And Pierce Brosnan is one of my two favourite Bond actors, the other one being Roger Craig.
Yes. Roger Craig.
I think I got the name wrong.
I think that's Ezio.
Yes, no. Oh my God, I'm getting my names wrong. He was
Roger Moore or
Roger
Daniel
Moore.
Craig?
Thank you. Not Roger Craig. That is a voice actor. Yes, Roger Moore. Thank you. Roger Moore and Pierce Brosnan are my two favourite Bonds.
Dave Callan went and tweeted last week that, if they do a female Bond, they'll have to have the Bond boys, and they'll probably have ridiculous names like Roger Moore.
I mean, that'd be fantastic. I would love that to happen, just to see all the stupidly over-the-top names they give the characters.
Just embrace the silliness, because I think that's what films are going back to now, is less the grounded realism.
Which I think we need that. We've got too much grounded realism in real life.
Yeah.
We need escapes.
We do, escapism. If they were to do a female Bond, I think they are casting an actress whose name escapes me. But she was in Captain Marvel, British actress, fantastic. But if they were to do a female Bond, who do you think could take up the role?
Oh, that's a tough one. There are some brilliant actresses out there. Has to be British ones, makes it trickier.
All the British actresses are crap.
I'm thinking Tom Hiddleston in drag.
Why not?
Let's
Yeah.
have a drag queen Bond. Let's go for it. It's
And
2020. We're ready for it.
He needs to go method. He needs to stay afterwards up until the Oscar
Oh yeah,
acceptance
absolutely,
speech.
absolutely. I'll be honest. I just want to see Tom Hiddleston in drag again. I'll come clean.
What was he in drag in?
I know he's a British actor. They all do drag at some point,
I do, yeah.
which I admire. I love it. Love seeing it. It's like Charles Dance in yeah.
LEG in
Yep.
the house. We're going to talk about LEG in the house now.
Oh god, let's not talk about LG in the house. That movie is funny, but it's not aged well.
No. What has aged well? GoldenEye.
Wine.
Yeah, wine. GoldenEye. Has that aged well?
Oh, about as well as any Bond film can be expected to age, given the
Yeah.
attitudes they have at the time.
Yeah. The most important or most sort of remembered thing about GoldenEye is the video game adaptation.
Yes, which is a classic.
It was on Nintendo 64, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was probably one of the best shooters of its time.
Yeah, it really revolutionized that whole genre.
Oh yeah.
And movie games as well, movie tie-ins. It's sort of above and beyond what's even coming out today. Interesting thing about that is that a few years ago they went and remade the game for the modern consoles. And they recast the actors. They went and had the Daniel Craig Bond in it instead of the Pierce Brosnan. So it had a very different tone. But the actor they had to play, Alec Trevelyan, who was Sean Bean's character, actually starred alongside Sean Bean in the series The Frankenstein Chronicles. So it's quite interesting watching these two Alec Trevelyans have a bit of a scuffle in that TV show. And they're going like, oh, hey, I recognise you both. But GoldenEye, yes, it's a good one.
It is good fun. It's a good fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, which is good. It has its serious moments, as you'd expect from a Bond movie, but for the most part, it's over the top. It's ridiculous. It's silly spy thriller movie, which is what we come to see for these things. Which is why I think Pierce Brosnan was good, because he fully embraced the corny, the campy.
Yes.
He was just the typical suave, sexy, smooth-talking British spy. He looked like Pierce Brosnan, which did help a lot. And he just had fun with it, and we had fun watching it.
Definitely agreed to that, yeah.
You can always have more fun in the movie when the actor enjoys it, which is why I don't think I've really been drawn to the new Bond films as much. Because, like I said, Daniel Craig just looks like he's in agony.
Yeah, I remember the production of Quantum of Solace was famously turbulent.
Yeah.
Like he was asked to come up with his own one-liners or something, or come up with his own dialogue on the fly.
And he's not that kind of actor.
No, and even Skyfall in 2012, he was talking about this is probably going to be the final Bond film I do. And here we are.
Yes, well, I guess at the end of the day, if $7 million is $7 million.
Yeah. Well.
So, I do things I'm not proud of for $7 million, so I'm sure anyone would.
Yeah, I'm sure most would.
Oh, $7 million is a lot of money. I could buy a lot of dogs with that.
Oh, yeah.
And chickens.
Yes. Chicken farm. Free
Yeah.
range.
Oh, yeah. I just built myself a little hobby farm.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Shamelessly.
Anything else you want to say about GoldenEye?
I think we pretty much covered what it is. For the end of the day, it just represents what I like about Bob movies. The corny, the over-the-top, the ridiculous villains, and the stupid gadgets.
And you can watch GoldenEye along with all the other Bond movies on Foxtel or Stan.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. If we were, well...
Hit us up.
But also, there was going to be a big Marvel Cinematic Universe film to come out this year, The Black Widow.
Yes.
Starring Scarlett Johansson. The second female-led MCU film out of like the 26 or something they've made.
I believe so, yes.
Yes. But on the discussion of Marvel superhero films, this is, of course, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, The Incredible Hulk, Ant-Man, Thanos. You know, everyone knows that, the Avengers. What is your favourite?
That's a tough call because I do love the MCU. I'm a comic book fan. I shamelessly love it. Watch it, even all the faulty ones. But it'd probably be Thor Ragnarok.
Yes.
I love what Taika Waititi did with Thor. He let Thor be more than just muscle-bound God of Thunder. He let him be a person. I liked the way it kind of showed how he dealt with the grief of losing everything by masking with humour and witty one-liners and just being a complete dag. And Taika Waititi's humour and writing is always a joy to watch.
Definitely. We've discussed this film before on the show, but I mean, why not? We talk about it again. Yeah, because I mean, Thor, he is sort of that tragic character. He is very Shakespearean at first. I mean, Kenneth Branagh directed the first one, big Shakespearean sort of tragedy approach to it, and then they sort of turned into the comedy films of the series.
It is interesting to see how different writers can give the same character a completely different characterization. He also gave us short-haired Thor shooting thunder, which I will always be thankful for. I think it's fantastic. I do love Kenneth Branagh's work. I've seen a lot of his Shakespearean films, and they're brilliant. And it did work well as an introduction to Thor, because Thor's introduction should have been quite Shakespearean, very, tragic Shakespearean hero, cast down by the gods for his arrogance to regain his former glory. And we got that arc, and it was great. Now it's a more realistic take on who Thor is. He's a god, but he's also a man. He is a prince who didn't want to be king, but he needs to be king because God knows he can't let his brother do it. We've seen how that turns out.
Yes.
Might add though, Tom Hiddleston, fantastic as Loki in Ragnarok again, and the chemistry between Tom and Chris is just brilliant. You really buy that they're brothers with a very vicious love-hate relationship.
Yeah, because I mean, Loki's been everything. He has been the tragic character. He's been the malicious, evil villain, and here he is like, he's the foil to Thor, really. And
exactly.
He works so well in each one, and it is a testament as well to the characters. I mean, the actors that all, across all the different portrayals, they've all felt uniform and the same.
Yes, they're all the same character, but you can just feel their growth as characters throughout the time.
Yes.
And also, Taika Waititi, you can tell, knows how to bring the best out of both Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Because he lets them be more themselves, because they're both Australian and British, respectively, quite witty, quite charming gentlemen. He just lets them do that in the form of their characters, and we all love watching it.
Definitely.
Makes us fall in love with the characters all over again.
Yeah. There's so much to like about this film. I mean, he is really thrown aside, and he's dumped onto a junkyard planet and forced it into a gladiator arena where he faces the Hulk, played by Mark Ruffalo.
Yes, exactly, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, great utilisation of that character.
Yes, that was always good to see.
The villain, Hela, played by Cate Blanchett.
Who is looking stunning. And also, very intimidating villain. She was a joy to watch.
Yes.
You can see she's really embraced the corny, over-the-top superhero villain trope and just went with it.
Completely, yeah.
And it's always nice to see Cate Blanchett and things.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And she's the third, along with Carl Urban, who we discussed last week on the show.
Yes.
With Doom and Dredd, playing
Scourge.
another, a comedic villain.
He is brilliant. I love his character in this movie. It's just over the top. This is Des and Troy, because together they destroy.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Stupid. Brilliant.
Behold,
my stuff. And it's always a joy to see Carl Urban in things. He should be in everything as far as I'm concerned, but we can't have that.
Definitely, yes.
Taika Waititi's character, Korg, was a brilliant side character.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he came back for Endgame.
Yes. A fantastic, big Kiwi rock man.
Who just had the brilliant, ridiculous backstory of being arrested because he couldn't hand out enough pamphlets.
Check out Thor Ragnarok on, I don't know, Disney Plus. It's probably up there.
I think so.
Yeah.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, no. We're just letting the audience know where they can watch all these things, yeah. McMillions is a 6-part documentary series currently airing on Foxtel Showcase, delving into the story behind the late 90s and early 2000s Monopoly McDonald's scandal. As of the time of recording, only 4 episodes have been shown, but I feel like I've seen enough to give you an informed opinion as to whether or not the show is worth your time. Now, going into this, I didn't know too much about the topic, and surely that makes me the perfect person to review it. A documentary is meant to educate and inform you. You go in not knowing anything about the subject and come away with all this knowledge which the documentary has bestowed upon you. However, one thing to remember is that documentaries are first and foremost a form of entertainment. They're never unbiased, and they're often shaped using the footage which they've captured from real life by the directors and the producers and sometimes even writers to put across a message that they want to convey and convince you to agree with them or disagree with them if that's the case they're going for. I remember there was a documentary I saw a few years ago called Murderball, which delved into the life of the high-octane, very intense contact sport of wheelchair rugby played by paraplegic athletes in the lead-up to the 2004 Paralympics. I remember one of the characters in that, one of the personalities, was shaped to be the villain. He was very driven, very passionate about the sport, and he was very much in it for himself. And in comparison to the other personalities who were included in the documentary, who were more altruistic and out for the fun or for the glory for their family rather than themselves, this guy, in the way that he was shot, in the way that his scenes were edited, and the music choices they made, was made to look like the villain. For all we know, he could just very well just be a perfectly normal dude who just wanted to succeed, but he was painted to be the antagonist to all these other characters who the audience was made to feel sympathy for, who wanted to cheer on and see succeed. So that's very much the approach that this series has taken itself. It's very much in the vein of Tiger King, the big Netflix documentary that everyone a few months ago was talking about, but we never delved into because none of us ever watched it here on the show. In this documentary, it's the subjects who are being interviewed who are really the stars of the show. The FBI investigators who looked into this case, the McDonald's representatives who assisted the FBI, the winners of the $1 million prize, their lives before and after, as well as the family members of the conspirators, seeing as some of them are no longer with us. There's much more to this than just McDonald's. There's really a delve into the human condition and poverty and family violence and organised crime. Yes, the mafia is even involved. Yes, they probably could have called it McMafia, but that's already a drama series, so maybe not. There's much more to this than just the McDonald's scandal. Like I said, there's all those different aspects to it. It really gets quite hard, and it's really over-dramatized. Every episode really does end with a cliffhanger for the next one. You know, tune in next time to see the next thrilling installment in the McDonald's Monopoly saga. And it's that kind of construction, you know, within the narrative of this documentary, which does sort of annoy me a little. It's a little sensationalized rather than just presenting the facts as they should be, just plain as day, no thrills attached, but, you know, HBO likes to go over the top and do all that kind of thing. But if you are a fan of true crime dramas, and you are perhaps a fan of human drama, maybe check it out. This is McMillions. It's currently airing on Foxtel Showcase and available to watch on Foxtel On Demand. Tropes was an interesting thing you brought up.
Yes, favourite tropes in our movies.
Yeah, so tropes, you know, they're basically... How do you define a trope?
A trope is like a cliche, but pretentious. A trope is essentially a theme that happens in a lot of different movies. So you've got probably the most well-known trope would be the hero's journey.
Yes.
Which you see in all your classic fantasy and action hero movies. You know, the hero meets the mentor, goes to their big trials, fights the big villain, wins the world and has his character arc, la-di-da. Stuff like that. It's just things you see through all things. And also there's negative tropes, like the damsel in distress you see in all the old movies. Or the positive alternate version, like the last girl in the action movies, horror movies rather. Jamie Lee Curtis being the original Scream Queen was probably one of the most well-known of them.
Yes, for sure. So, you want to touch upon some of your favourite tropes? I mean, you get a fantastic explanation of what they were. Your favourites and your least favourite.
Favourite tropes, I'm old-fashioned. I like the hero's journey. It's always fun. I know what to expect, but I still love seeing it. I love seeing the villain turn good guy trope. A la your Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z,
Ah, yes.
your Loki and Thor Ragnarok,
Oh, yes, for sure.
and the such thing. It's always nice to see how they handle it, because that can be handled very well or very poorly.
Unfortunately, I can't think of any positives, so my mind went straight to negative. And a trope that I always hate to see is the third act breakup. The third act breakup is usually present in comedy films, and it's
Yes.
where the heroes are at odds with each other and they go sulk for 5 minutes.
Which is usually Leonardo and Raphael and the Ninja Turtles having another tiff.
Oh, yeah. It's sort of hammed up and sort of tongue-in-cheek in the 21 Jump Street films, where Jenko and Schmidt, played by Jonah Hill,
Yeah.
and Channing Tatum sort of part ways for 5 minutes before coming back together. It just infuriates me so much whenever I see it.
It does feel very forced in a lot of movies, and it doesn't really add anything to it. If they had a more organic reason for them to split up, it'd be something, but it's always just the most petty, inane nonsense.
You lied to me. How could you lie to us, Raccoon? Voiced by Bruce Willis. That's Over the Hedge. Which does that.
God, that was a movie, wasn't it?
That was a movie. A moving movie.
Yeah, most of them are. But yeah, that's an example of what could be considered a negative trope. The positive tropes there are. Well, you look at your. Give me a example. What's your favorite movie of yours? Give me an example.
What's a film that I like to watch?
That was too broad an example. What's your favorite Star Wars movie?
Let's go Solo, for example.
Solo. Haven't seen Solo myself, but I know the basic idea.
Yeah.
Would you consider Han Solo's character in that to be a trope character?
He's definitely the anti-hero. He's sort of the dastardly...
The dashing rogue, the swashbuckler, the
exactly
anti-hero.
that, yeah. He shoots first and doesn't ask questions, you know.
Han Solo always shoots first.
Yes. The film makes that very clear, I should say. So if you want some Han Solo shooting first action, you've got that.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, the lovable rogue and...
You have Chewie, the loyal mascot character.
Yes.
Who doesn't speak and is very furry.
That's a trope in of itself.
Oh, it's in surprising amount of movies when you sit back and look at it. Well, probably one of the best movies that introduces pretty much every kind of trope is The Princess Bride, which is a classic. You've got Carrie Elwes as Wesley, who was this swashbuckling dark hero who was presumed dead but came back with a vengeance but was still the good guy. You got Inigo Montoya, played by Manny Patinkin, who is just the swashbuckling villain turned good guy with the long flowing hair and the moustache and the vengeance story. You've got Fezzik, played by Andre the Giant, who was just the possibly a positive and negative trope, the less intelligent but monstrously strong character, which was in a lot of things back in the day.
I feel there's one about, like, you know, a big strong guy who's actually like a softie underneath, which is very much an embodiment of that character and Andre the Giant as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he was good. There's Vicini, who the actor's name escapes me.
Wallace Shawn, was it?
I think it might have been. Who was the...
Inconceivable.
Yes. It was the
It's
short,
Rex
conniving, toad-like man who used his intellect but was thwarted by his own devices.
Yeah.
And then you got Princess Buttercup, the completely useless, just there to be pretty... damsel in distress trope, which thankfully you don't see as much anymore.
Yeah. I think one of my least favourite tropes as well was the whole kung fu sort of Kill Bill Matrix trope, which came about in the early 2000s. And it was sort of Buffy the Vampire Slayer inspired as well. I think although I think about it now, and I think the Scooby-Doo film with, you know, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar and fantastic cast all around was a lot more tongue-in-cheek than we give it credit for. And we sort of looked back at it now and go, that's actually quite a smart film.
That movie was quite subversive in a lot of ways, and I personally think it was brilliant, and the casting was phenomenal.
But one thing they did with Daphne, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, of course, where she does have a bit of a slow-mo, kung fu fighting scene.
Yes.
And I remember thinking back in the day, it's just, you know, they're ripping off that, but it's definitely more of a what's the word? A parody or a homage.
It's much more of a homage, parody, kind of. It's making fun of the trope.
Yes.
Which is always fun to see.
I'm sorry, we're probably going to have to wrap it up now.
Right,
we're only 22 minutes in.
Sorry, folks, we're out of time for this week. Hopefully we'll be back again another week with more time and more information.
Definitely. Hope so. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.